Humans on the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we had just an insane amount, an absolute just avalanche of Yu-Gi-Oh news. If you are a player of the TCG, not only did we get like pretty much the entire set list revealed for Ghosts of the Past, we'll look at that in another video later today. But as for this video, we're looking at the OCG's live stream for Power of the Elements, where they released all of the cards for this set of a brand new archetype that it falls into the lore with Scareclaw. 4 new cards of support for Melffy, wasn't expecting that, and a brand new potential meta staple card, which we will take a look at as well. So let's start out with the meta staple. We'll go to the Melffys and we'll finish with the new archetype, hitting up these new cards. So here you're going to see the artwork here. It looks pretty cool. I know it's a little blurry there. That doesn't help too much, but whatever. It looks pretty cool. Of course, it's a cute girl. But yeah, this is Kurikara, Avatar of the Immovable. She's a fairy special summon effect monster, fire attribute, level 1, 15/15 for the stats, even though it's a level 1. This card cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned from your hand by attributing all face-up monsters on the field that activated on effect in any of your opponent's monster zones this turn. Okay, so pretty specific stipulation there, that you can't just tribute anything. You have to tribute stuff that has activated an effect in the opponent's monster zone. We'll get into more of that later. Let's finish the rest of the effects. You can only use the second effect of this card once per turn. And the first effect reads, gain 1500 attack for each monster tributed to special summon it. Very nice. And the second effect, during your end phase, you can target one monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to your field. Very, very solid effects. First and foremost, let's talk about what this card does. Essentially, this becomes like another alternate, let's say, Lava Golem, Kaiju, Sphere Mode-esque cards. But there's a little bit of push and pull there. Those cards are pretty specific in what they do. Once those cards hit the field, they just are what they are. They're just tributes, right? The trade-off with the Kaijus is you only get to clear one monster, whereas the trade-off with Sphere Mode and Lava Golem is like, one, Lava Golem's a big body, so he may not be as easy to clear unless you have removal available. 2, he takes away your normal summon, and Sphere Mode also takes your normal summon, and also requires your opponent to have 3 monsters if they play a deck that doesn't leave 3 monsters, or they know you play it in the side or something and they can play around it. It can make it a little less useful. So those are the push and pull on those cards. The way this card kind of pushes and pulls with those cards as well is, 1, this card gets huge and you summon it to your field. All of those other cards I listed go to your opponent's field, so they get the body, you get this body, and it is ginormous. Even if you tribute only 1 monster with this effect, or with the summon condition, you get this as a 3k body. Very big already. If you tribute just 2, that still seems really easily doable. 4,500 attack. And if you can get 3, I mean, it's just a 6,000, that's insane. That's just crazy. But really strong nonetheless. And the second effect is also a bonus. Ideally you're going to summon this, probably beat over something on your opponent's side of the field, and then on your end phase, it'll come back, on your end phase, you're going to get another summon from your opponent's grave. I think that's a nice balanced effect, that this isn't just a main phase effect to reborn something, so you're not just OTKing like unreasonably with this card. But I think that's good. It's like a card that breaks a board, but also like still wants to grind, gives you value in a grind, which I really respect. So and the drawback of this card, of course, is this text right here, is that it has to be monsters on your field, on your opponent's field, that have activated their effect. That makes this so much more specific. This makes this really good, though, against decks kind of like Sword Soul. They're going to try to Chi-Jiao you on the field, right? Negate something. Then they're going to try and Baronne de Fleur you, right? Just negating any card. And then if you can just drop this by attributing both those cards after they fired their negates, this card's now 4,500. And on your end phase, you're going to reborn the Baronne de Fleur, and it's just now another live negate for you. Absolutely insane. Really powerful card. The question here is going to be absolutely meta related, and it is most of the time with any of these meta staple question mark cards. But this card doesn't use your normal summons. That's another really big bonus. All of those other cards, aside for Kaijus don't take your normal, but the Lava Golem and Sphere Mode absolutely do. It's just going to be meta-based. I mean, think about stuff like Wandering Griffin Rider. Negates and then shuffles itself, so that doesn't work. As well as stuff like DPE. If they're firing it, they're usually using DPE to pop itself to just guarantee that grind game. He clears himself off the field. He's not tributable anymore. Makes it a little more awkward. So you definitely have to find the right matchups, but this absolutely seems like a card that you should probably keep an eye on. So spend a little more time on that one, sorry, but that one seems like a legit meta staple. All right, let's hit the Melffy support here. Starting off here, we have Melffy Wallaby. I love it that this is like such a different monster or like animal that we're used to with the Melffys, like cat and dog and horse. I actually have a wallaby, very cool. It's obviously a level 2 Earth Beast, 0 attack, 400 defense as to be expected. You can only use the first and second effects of this card once per turn. If your opponent normal summons or special summons a monster or monsters, or if this card is targeted for an attack by an opponent's monster, you can return this card to the hand. Then you can special summon 2 Melffy monsters with different names from each other from your deck, except Melffy Wallaby. Second effect, during your end phase, you can special summon this card from your hand. Very cool. This one's pretty strong. It is still a little bit slow, but I think it's pretty good. It adds a little bit of power to the deck. Well, I guess all Melffys are slow, so I guess in terms of context with the deck, it's still really good. The one thing I will say is this does not say summon any level 2 beast. It says specifically Melffy, so you cannot use this to get Kalantosa. You have to use this to get other Melffys that will hopefully get you to Kalantosa, which may give your opponent a little bit of wiggle room to help play around this card. But I do still think the power is there. Definitely still welcome, because it felt like we only had like 2 or 3 actually good Melffys in the main deck. So this one definitely joins the club there. Next up, we have Melffy Sealy. I love this one. This one might be my favorite main deck Melffy for sure. This is a Water Beast Tuner. What? Effect level 2, 300, 100 for the stats. You can only use both of his effects once per turn. If a face-up beast, monster, or monsters you control other than Sealy has returned to the hand this turn, quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then, immediately after this effect resolves, you can synchro summon using only this card and Melffy monsters in your hand as material. Interesting that it only synchros with Melffy monsters in hand. You can't even use other stuff on the field. It's kind of a bummer, because like I'd almost want to like tag into like a Kalantosa to pop something and then be able to use this from hand to like jump on the field and use the Kalantosa as a synchro body. But not the worst thing. It can add another interruption. There's no restriction on what you can synchro into. You can synchro into anything, so you could just straight up make Herald of the Arclight if you want. That can definitely come up. Definitely a cool card for sure. And then also during the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can target a Beast Exceed monster you control and attach it to it as material. That's also pretty nice. Just getting free material, especially if you're trying to do a play that makes one of the Exceeds turn 1. Very cool. And of course, to go with our new tuner monster that adds a synchro element to the deck, we have to talk about Cheerful Melffys, a new synchro monster. Very cool. This is another Earth Beast. Of course, it's level 4. 1500, 1000 defense. So pretty weak, but we'll see. Takes any tuner and any non-tuner, so I like that this is generic as well. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. If this card is special summoned, you can target one face-up monster on the field to return it to the hand. Yo, this is just a generic good synchro. What? Wow. I mean, I think about decks that like do make Herald of the Arclight on the opponent's turn. You could just be making this and get an immediate bounce. Interesting. Okay, cool. Second effect, if your opponent normal summons or special summons a monster, or if this card is targeted for an attack by an opponent's monster, you can return this card to the extra deck, then you can special summon a Melffy Exceed monster straight from the extra deck. Okay, so this card's tag out effect actually gets you to an Exceed. Very cool. I don't remember exactly how the Exceeds work, and if you can get extra disruption that way, but dang, this card could be sweet. If you can like quick synchro into this with Sealy to get a bounce, and then when your opponent keeps trying to play, tag out into another interruption. Very cool. Okay, maybe Sealy is good. I was questioning whether Sealy would actually be worth, but I'm thinking pretty good so far. And then we finish up here with the Melffy stuff with Melffy Staring Contest. This is a continuous spell. You can only activate the first effect once per turn. You can reveal a beast monster in your hand, add from your deck or graveyard to your hand a Melffy monster with a different name than the revealed monster, and if you do, place the revealed monster on the bottom of the deck. Just kind of lets you swap for something else, but it is a targeted swap, so that can be good. If you draw stuff like Kalantosa, getting it back into the deck is pretty sweet. At the start of your opponent's battle phase, you can activate this effect. Any number of Melffy monsters in your hand become revealed during this battle phase. Okay. In the third effect, monsters your opponent controls whose attack equal to the combined attack and defense of all monsters currently revealed by this card's second effect. Okay, so gives you a little bit of extra offensive potential in the battle phase. That's fine. Oh, it's only your opponent's battle phase. I guess the bigger point there is this deck is designed around having little beast monsters on the field. Sometimes just like a bum rush strategy, a beatdown strategy can actually be good enough to just clear all your guys because they're all just really small. And if your opponent can put enough decent sized bodies on the field, that could be annoying. But at least this can potentially work around that a little bit. Not terrible though. First effect's fine. I'm just not sure if this card's going to be worth it. It is a kind of a... I guess it's not really a -1. But it doesn't plus you at all. It's fine. I think it's okay. All right. Here we go. Moving on to the final part of this video here. We have the Tearlaments. I guess this is a combination of Tiara, Tear, Lament, and Element. I guess. We'll see how it ends up being in the English translation. But let's get into this. They are cute fusion girls. They're aqua also. First one here is Tearlaments Miru. This is a dark aqua effect monster. Level 2, 800 attack, 2000 defense. Big booty, we'll take that. I guess technically this can be material for a totally awesome as well. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. If this card is normal summoned or special summoned, you can send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Okay, we got ourselves a mill strategy. Let's go. Maybe this becomes like part of like a chaos deck, like a chaos lightsworn like shenanigans. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck by returning fusion materials listed on it from your hand, field, and or graveyard to the bottom of the deck in any order, including this card. What I love about this is a generic fusion summon. This does not need to be a Tearlaments fusion. We have some of those, but it doesn't have to be that. So if it's just 2 darks, 3 darks, you could just make some of the generic dark things. If there's already a dark fusion or a dark and a fusion, you could just get into the Predaplant, the one with the negate. I can't remember its name right now. The one with just like the kind of impermanence effect. Very cool, very powerful. Just generically, this is sent to grave by card effect. It triggers. Very interesting. Okay, and a solid mill effect on summon as well. Very cool. Okay, Tearlaments Hofenus. This is a dark aqua effect monster. Level 3, 1600, 1000, 2 hard ones per turn effects. When your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, send the top 3 cards from your deck to the graveyard. Okay, not bad. I don't love that it relies on the opponent that much, but I guess that means even going second, having this card, your opponent's almost always activating that going second. Summon this and mill 3 just to get the play started immediately. It's pretty interesting. And then, of course, if this card is sent to the graveyard by card effect, fusion summon, doing the same thing. Literally same second effect, letting you fusion summon. Dang, if they all do that, they just eliminate the fact that you would, like, they eliminate you needing to play a fusion spell at all because the monsters get it done. And they seem to have decent, like, hand/field effects. Very cool. Okay, let's keep it going. Tearlaments Shaylin. Dark Aqua Effect Monster. Level 4. 18, 13, 18 body. Okay. First and second effects, hard ones per turn. During your main phase, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if you do, send 1 monster from your hand to the graveyard. Then send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Whoa, this is like a generic extender. It does cost you another card from hand, but that is an effect that sends as cost, which is really interesting. So like anything that triggers by being like sent by card effect or something would still trigger off of this. Wow, this is an like this could be like a crazy like Orcust extender, helping you discard Orcust from hands while still getting this on the field. And then if you can get this card sent from the field to the graveyard by card effect, do the fusion summon thing because that second effect is the same. Very interesting. That's a solid generic card, I would think. Very cool. Okay. Next up here we have Tearlaments Reino Heart, Water Warrior. This one's the only one that's different. It is different in attribute and type for no reason. It's rotoable. If this card is normal summoned or special summoned, you can send 1 Tearlaments monster from your deck to the graveyard. So I guess that makes this card like a 1-card fusion, because you just go normal this, send one of the other ones. They trigger in grave to fusion summon, shuffling themselves and potentially this card back. to just make a fusion. I don't know exactly what fusions we can make just yet, but we'll see. This one does have a different second effect, though, where if it's sent to the graveyard by card effect, you can special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. That's pretty cool because that means, oh wait, and if you do, send one Tearlaments monster from your hand to the graveyard. So you do have to have a Tearlaments monster in your hand already. That's kind of a bummer. But it means that you could just, like, as long as you have a Tearlaments monster in hand, getting this sent as a quick effect on the opponent's turn lets you go reborn this, trigger its effect to send another one, and then another one's effect will trigger engrave to get you a fusion summon. And since you had to discard anyway, you could fuse for at least a monster that requires 3 fusion materials. Very cool. Okay, I think the monsters seem good so far. They all have decent effects when they're milled and decent effects on the field and or hand. This is what I've talked about has been a problem for stuff like Lightsworn. You have monsters that are one or the other. Decent to draw or just and like bad to mill, or the opposite. Really great mills like Wolf and Fellis and some of the other like cards that are really good to mill, but just absolute dog shit to draw unless you have specific cards to unbrick them. And so the deck just becomes inherently bricky that way. This is kind of how you circumvent that. You have monsters that just kind of have both effects. They're decent to mill and you're okay to draw them. Very cool. All right, let's get into the extra deck here. Tearlaments, Kit Kalos, Dark Aqua Fusion effect monster, level 5, 2300 attack, 1200 defense. Takes 1 Tearlaments monster plus another Aqua. So this is pretty like archetype locked. You're not going to find a lot of other good generic Aqua support unless you're playing frogs, but meh. You can only use the first, second, and third effects of this card's name once per turn each. If this card is special summoned, take a Tearlaments card from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. Hell yes, I've talked about this. Like if you're gonna make a fusion deck, Konami, you gotta make it that so that they make up for the inherent flaws of fusion summoning. They already kind of work around giving up a ton of resources to fusion summon, but then they also now plus with their main fusion monster. Hell yeah. Second effect, you can target one monster you control. Special summon a Tearlaments monster from your hand or graveyard, and if you do, send the targeted monster to the grave. It's pretty good. I mean, this whole deck triggers when they're sent to grave, so you're gonna pretty much reborn something and send another and get another extra, value. And of course, if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, mill 5 from your deck. So yeah, you could target itself, reborn another monster to trigger its effect on field, and then of course get an extra mill 5 to trigger a bunch of other effects if you want. Very cool. Very, very cool. This deck seems good, actually. Because I'm sure, and there's no restrictions, by the way. I don't know if you guys have seen that so far. There's been literally no restrictions. Shadal's probably working here really nastily, and I'm sure there's other stuff as well. Okay, our other fusion here is Tearlaments Kaleido Heart, a Dark Fiend fusion effect monster, level 9, 3k, 3k. Okay, pretty nice and big. It does require Rhino Heart, the one up here, and 2 other Aqua monsters. So pretty type locked, but if you're using Rhino Heart on field to reborn something and send 5 more cards, you're almost guaranteeing yourself a really high chance to get another fusion summon with the mill and loading up your graveyard to make this card. This card cannot be used as fusion material, interesting, and both of its effects are hard once per turns. If this card is special summoned, or if another Aqua monster is sent to your graveyard by card effect while this card's on the field, you can target one card your opponent controls, shuffle it into the deck. Ooh. Dang, so like on summon, this card is shuffling something, and then every turn, once per turn, if you can summon another or send an Aqua monster from deck to grave while this card's on the field, or just to grave generically by card effect, shuffle another card. Woo, man, that seems good. In the second effect, if this card is sent to the graveyard by card effect, you can special summon it. And if you do, send a Tearlaments card from your deck to the graveyard. That's what I want to see with the other card that sends a card from hand. But still, this card is a house. This card seems pretty solid. Big body. It seems relatively easy to make just because just making this one searches you an immediate card. Then by itself, it's going to reborn another body by sending itself, triggering for another mill 5. And you just have like an insane chance to just make this card immediately there and get it set up. Very, very cool. Okay. All right, let's finish up with 1 spell and 3 traps. The spell reads, Pelrano, the Primal Parallel Ruined Realm. Field spell. Oh god, it searches. It has to search. You can only activate 1 card with this card's name per turn. You can only use the third effect once per turn. When this card resolves, you could add 1 Tearlaments monster or Visas Starfrost from your deck to your hand. Second effect, fusion monsters and Tearlaments monster you control gain 500 attack. Wait, that's pretty good. And if a Tearlaments monster is returned from your field and or graveyard to the deck and or extra deck, you can target one card on the field, destroy it. What? Jeez. So if a Tearlaments monster is returned from your field and or graveyard to deck, so like using any of their fusion effects to put them back in the deck, on the opponent's turn gets you a pop. On your turn gets you a pop. And they all gain 500, which actually gives you some pretty nice tiers. That makes this the big one 35, 28, 2,000, 23, 21, and only 13 on that one. But that's this card's insane. I mean, it doesn't have the name of the archetype, so it's not searchable off other stuff, but dang, that card's crazy. It's a +1, remove stuff, and puts all your stuff on another level attack-wise. Dang. Okay. All right, for the spells, Tearlaments, Meta Noise. This is a normal trap. You can only use both of his effects once per turn and only once that turn, so not in the same turn. If you control a Tearlaments monster or Visas Starfrost, target one face-up monster your opponent controls, change it to face-down defense position, then send one Tearlaments monster from the deck to the graveyard. Dang, it's a Book of Moon with a Foolish Burial? Sheesh. You do have to control the Tearlaments. We're probably not playing Visas Starfrost. I think it's like going to be one of those things where like the lore wants you to play him, but he just like isn't good enough. It's like Albaz, right? Like literally, like Albaz is wanting to be played and everything because he has little synergies. It's not good enough though. Okay, and the second effect, if this card is sent to graveyard by card effect, even the traps have mill effects. You can target one Tearlaments monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So if you mill this and already have a Tearlaments in grave, you just add it back to hand. Oh, for free. You could do that turn 1. You could literally do that turn 1. Mill 3, mill 4, mill whatever. And if it's this and another monster, you just add it. It's just free. You just got a free, like, monster to hand. Dang. All right. That's a good card, I think. Next up here, we have Tearlaments, Salic, a continuous trap. First and second effects, hard once per turn. If you control Tearlaments monster or Visas Starfrost, target an effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effect, then send one monster you control to the graveyard. Okay, so this one does send you a monster from your field to the graveyard, which is a little bit, obviously, worse than sending from your deck. But still, the fact that it's a continuous, and like once you get this set up, you're able to grind, you're able to continuously just negate things one after the other, and all of your monsters trigger and get you value when they're sent anyway. Very tasty. And the second effect, if this card is sent to the graveyard by card effect, that means even if your opponent uses like a spell and trap removal that's not Cosmic Cyclone to remove this, add it to your Tearlaments monster from deck to hand. You just get a Rhoda. Insane. And you could pop it yourself and just get a Rhoda. Insane, dude. Holy crap. Oh, man. Even the field spell lets you target any card on the field to destroy it. You could just destroy this, search a monster. Crazy. All right, the last card here is Tearlaments, Crime and or Climb. It's a counter trap. You can only use its first and second effects once per turn and only that turn. By the way, this one you could use in the same turn. I don't know how much that would come up, but you can do it. Here we go. When a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated while you control the Tearlaments or Visas Starfrost, negate the activation if you shuffle that card into the deck, then send one monster from your hand to the graveyard. Okay, nerfs it a little bit. You do have to send from hand. That is like an active resource. But as we've seen, so much of the stuff in this deck it's just going to trigger on that. You're just going to get value back off of that. So this is just like an Omni-negate anything and shuffle into the deck, which is extremely powerful. Negate and destroy is not as powerful as it used to be. We want to negate and shuffle. We want to negate and banish if we can. Very, very good. Insanely good. And of course, if this card is sent to the graveyard by card effect, target one of your banished Tearlaments monsters, add it to your hand. I'm not exactly sure how we're banishing them, right? Have we seen any effects in here that actually, like, banish your Tearlaments stuff? I don't think so. I don't think we've seen... Oh. Yeah, okay, so stuff like Rhino Heart. I guess it depends on stuff like how central stuff like Rhino Heart is, because she banishes herself when she brings herself back with the second effect. Okay, so there is a way at least, and then of course you have so much stuff that floats in graves. Your opponent might be trying to banish your stuff in general. Cool. I think this archetype seems really good. I think the hardest part to see right now is exactly what it's going to synergize with the best, what the builds are going to look like to keep it consistent. Should all seem like they have insane synergy because they both just want to be sent. They both just want to be milled. Other mill strategies as well look insane. Fairy Tale Snow. It seems okay, though, because you have to shuffle all your materials back into the, or put them on the bottom of the deck to do your fusion. So you aren't leaving a ton of stuff in grave for Fairy Tale Snow. It looks like, although you do mill a ton, so maybe you still do. Very, very interesting stuff. I am very curious to see where people go with this. By the way, there was like literally no restrictions on any of these cards. Like none of them. You could play this with whatever you want. So I'm sure people will do that. But yeah, that's pretty much everything we have to look at today. A really, really, potential meta archetype here. Melffy support that's actually pretty solid. I like the 3 monsters. The spell was okay to me, but the 3 monsters seem really solid. And this card could be a meta staple card, or at least a card you consider every meta, just to like as a card that's like, you know what, it's good enough. I'm playing it. It's good against these matchups, and my deck's bad against these matchups. Good enough, man. All right. Sorry if this video is a little bit long, but there's a lot of stuff to get through. Thank you so much for watching. As always, though, subscribe if you have not yet and you want to see more Yu-Gi-Oh! News videos going forward and other stuff. I have a lot of deck profiles coming. We have so many products coming. I'm very excited. And Ghost from the Past stuff coming soon. So I'll see you later. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace. Let me know your thoughts down below.